Man, there's a lot of butthurt guitar players out there these days. It's viewer comments time, folks.
Just play the damn thing.
A lot of comments I want to share with you here today, and honestly, I'm a couple weeks behind on sharing these with you guys as it is. So let's get right to it. Watching you reach for the unit and adjusting it constantly was about the most annoying 5 minutes of my life. What about the additional minute that it took you to think up that comment and type it out and leave it? The only reason you should sell your gear to Guitar Center or any other retailer or pawn shop is because you have a drug habit and you'll either sell your gear or turn tricks. Or because you just don't feel like messing with selling it online, because you'd rather just sell it quick and clear up the space, and the space is more important to you than the money. Or maybe you're actually trading it in towards another piece of gear that they happen to have in stock, and it's a more efficient way for you to pay for that. Yeah, but yeah, right. Drug habit. Great video and very accurate as to what I've experienced selling my gear to GC. I have a few questions for you though. On returning items to GC, I've bought plenty of gear from GC in my 48 years playing guitar. I've kept about 25 to 35% of the items I purchased from them. Is there a ratio or percentage of when any given customer keeps versus what they return that I should keep in mind if I don't want to get banned from shopping at GC for returning too many items? Also, if I return an expensive guitar, $2,900 used acoustic I recently purchased, but I'm still within my 45-day return window, if I return it to a different GC where I bought it, will it be less noticeable to the original GC I bought it from, and therefore less likely to cause me future problems buying or returning anything else to the original GC I bought it at? Or when a customer returns an expensive item to a different store, does the second store call the first one immediately and say, "Customer, insert name, just return that expensive guitar you sold them 2 weeks ago," or am I overthinking it? Worrying too much? I'm not trying to screw GC. They've got some quality gear in guitars, but I want to make use of that 45-day return policy, not abuse it, but I want to make sure I'm going to really be satisfied with my purchase once the return window closes. Would love to hear your insight or opinion and input on those questions. Thanks. It's probably a good thing that I post the actual comment on the screen in these videos while I'm reading it, because had I focused this on my face, you probably just would have seen the blood rise as I was reading it, because this is the kind of thing that really pisses me off. And this isn't as a GC guy. This is anybody in any industry that makes their living from commission sales. And while I've been in sales in many industries, it only seems to be dipshit guitar players that pull this shit. So let's first start with the situation at hand. This is a dude that keeps about 25% of everything he buys. Now, Guitar Center's return policy is 45 days from the date of purchase. That 45-day return policy is the longest in the industry by more than 2 weeks. Most everybody else is 30 days. And in the right situations, my experience, both as an employee and a customer, is that GC is pretty lenient, again, in the right circumstance, about stretching that return policy out a little bit if needed. For example, when I was there, I once had a really good customer of mine that bought a $4,000 studio mixer. Pretty expensive purchase. And at about 2 months in, a little bit more, it started going on the fritz and having issues, and it needed something. And I determined that it was just going to be best for everybody involved if we just exchange it for the customer. He's happy. We take it back. We send it back to take the mixer back, send it back to the manufacturer, let them deal with it, refurbish it, whatever they need to do, and then send it back, and we'll put and we added it back into our inventory. So in situations like that, where it absolutely made sense to go ahead and process a return, or more likely an exchange after the 45-day mark. Absolutely acceptable, not uncommon. Would I have let him return it just because he decided he didn't like it, he was bored with it, whatever it was, after 45 days at that amount of time? No. That point is not my problem. So, keeping in mind that GC's return policy is more than fair compared to the entire rest of the industry, let's start with the first question. Is there a ratio or percentage of what any given customer keeps versus what they return that I should keep in mind if I don't want to get banned from shopping at GC for returning too many items? The fact that you're asking that question means that you're probably already there. And it also probably means that whenever you walk into your local store, and it sounds like you're in an area that has multiple, whenever you walk into either store, the employees are probably doing something like this. Reason why is because they just discovered that you're probably going to cost them some money and time and energy and effort. And also you're probably going to cost Guitar Center money because very, very, very rarely does Guitar Center get items returned back to them in the exact same condition that they left the store in, particularly if they're brand new. Now, when they get them back, they usually have to sell them as an open box item, if not a scratch and dent item, depending on how much wear and tear you put on it in the 2 weeks or however long it was that you owned it before you brought it back to them. So with that in mind, the measly 25% that you're actually bothering to hold on to, Guitar Center's not making any money. They're not making any money on you overall. I don't make those decisions, but if it were me, I would have concluded a long time ago that there is no money to be made with you. So to answer your question, what percentage do you need to be at before you get banned? Again, if that decision were up to me, I would have had that conversation with you a long time ago. Bare minimum, I would have told you no more returns allowed because you have absolutely abused the return policy at this point. No question. No question. It is not worth. It's not worth the effort of my staff. It's not worth the effort of my guy busting his ass trying to sell you that $2,900 acoustic that I'm willing to bet you probably didn't pay full price for anyway. What's in it for that guy who earns his living selling people gear just like you, but you're not gonna even bother to respect that, and you're gonna return most everything that you buy. You're wasting people's time because I want to be sure that I'm satisfied with my purchase. That's bullshit. You can figure that out in the store in most cases very, very easily. Your needs as a guitar player at your age are not any more specific, or at any higher level than anybody else's. And if you're really trying to convince yourself that they are, the truth is you're probably either just way, way indecisive, you have a case of perpetual buyer's remorse, or it's just a case of extreme arrogance. And the truth is, you already know that you are abusing the system and you're actually going out of your way to try to get away with it. And here's how I know this, because now you're too chicken shit to face the guys at the store that you bought this thing from that you're now trying to return. So now you're trying to go down to another store hoping that you don't get caught. Well, bad news for you. If you return an item like that, or if you return any item at another store, it automatically hits the original store's numbers, and yes, they are going to know immediately. They don't even need to make the stupid phone call that you're suggesting. That's Guitar Center's technology, I admit, leaves a lot to be desired, but that part works pretty well. When you are costing them money, yet again, they're going to know. And the other dickheaded move about doing that is when you do that, now the guitar that you just returned is now sitting in another store, and the guy who originally sold it to you and whose paycheck just took the hit for you, now that guy doesn't even have an opportunity to try to sell it again to somebody who, to another customer who might actually be a serious buyer. So you not only wasted their time, but you took away the opportunity for them to make it back with somebody else. And that's exactly what you're doing because you're actually spending the energy driving across town to the other Guitar Center location to try to hide the fact that you're getting ready to screw them. Which, by the way, leads me to one of your final statements in that comment that said you're not trying to screw GC. Bullshit. If that were the case at all, this wouldn't even be a discussion. Screwing GC may not be your primary motive here, but let's not pretend like you give a shit about that either. We all know you don't. Say what you want about Guitar Center, no question, they've got their problems. I've admitted that many, many times on my channel. But at the end of the day, they do still have a lot of hardworking employees who are also musicians in most cases, that don't deserve the bullshit that they get from you. End rant. Can you do a review on the Earthquaker Devices Park Fuzz sound pedal? You must be new here. In regards to the Joyo Atmosphere Reverb pedal that I did a video on a while back, any cons? No. Joyo hasn't conned anybody out of anything, their money or otherwise, as far as I know. Joyo's a legit company. Although this line of production is superb, but consider the sub-brand from Gibson, they will not hold their value at all. This was a comment left on the video that I did discussing the new Epiphone Les Paul Customs that were just announced. The ones that have the new, the actual Gibson mustache headstock, open book headstock, whatever you want to call it. You know, and Gibson, American USA, Gibson Electronics. You know, so they got some really, really good specs on them. You know, but here's the thing. I mean, who buys an Epiphone or any Chinese-made guitar? It doesn't even necessarily need to be Epiphone. Who buys an Epiphone? With future with future value, future investment in mind. No Chinese guitar is going to have any kind of very few anyway. I mean, there's a few exceptions, I suppose, but the general rule of thumb, guitars made in China, as it sits right now, are not ever going to be collectible. The high-end vintage collectible market, just simply still turns its nose up to China, to stuff made in China. End of story. So why anybody would buy anything from any guitar made in China, thinking they're going to get their money back out of it, is ridiculous anyway. It really, I mean, the truth can be, the same can be said for Gibsons, for that matter. I mean, Gibsons, no guitar is gonna hold its value very well. I mean, unless you buy it right on the used market, and you get it at at the lower end of what that item's used value, used spectrum might be. If you buy something new and then you go to resell it down the road, you're going to lose money on it. Period. End of story. That's the way the world works. You can't make a video like this without demoing the pedal itself, even if it means borrowing footage and giving credit. Strange, because I think I just did. The Mesa Triple Rectifier is the most overrated amp of all time, followed closely by any Hughes and Kettner in second place. I don't know what your definition of overrated is, but an amp is an amplifier as popular as the Mesa Boogie dual rectifier or the triple rectifier that you mentioned. How many of those are out there? Thousands and thousands and thousands of people own triple rectifiers from all different eras that amp has been made. I'm not real sure I would consider that overrated. Like I said, I don't know what your definition of overrated is, but mine, that ain't it. No thanks, I'd rather play well. Give me a break. Okay. Man, I haven't been this excited about a channel in a long time. My son was recording music in his bedroom at 13. Now I've gotten back into guitar. He's 16 now, and we're looking to start recording at home. We don't have much money, and a lot has changed since I played. We have guitars, but we need effects. He says to get a Line 6 Helix that costs $1,000 and record on his iPad. Do you agree? I suppose it kind of, it depends on what effects specifically that you're after. If it's guitar effects, there's a number of different ways that you can go about that. And, the Helix is a great unit for that. A lot of people do use it in the studio, but, yeah, I mean, do you really need it? There's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of great sounds to be had out of it, but if budget is a concern, the Helix would probably not be my first choice. If you're wanting to go the processor route, and it sounds like you are. So there's a couple of things that I would consider. There's some smaller units, smaller than the Helix, that are going to give you, produce equally as good results. And those, such as some of the other stuff in the Helix line. Like the HX Stomp, the HX Effects, or even if you go down to like the Pod Go, those are all Line 6 effects. And I think most of them all have the Helix native, or at least part of the Helix native, built into it. So it's the same effects engine. Same quality effects, but in much smaller, more inexpensive units. Because like you said, the Helix is $1,500. And that's after they just recently did a price drop on that here at a few months ago. And there's lots of other things that you can consider. I'd recommend looking at the Boss GT1000 Core. That'll also get you get you quite a bit. That one actually has all the exact same features as the full size Boss GT1000, but I think that one sells for like $649 or $699. Something like that. And again, a much smaller, more compact unit and much more affordable, or even cheaper than that. With equally as good effects native that I've been having fun with. This is the new MG30 Versatile model. This thing runs $299. I've used this for a few videos, my last few videos here recently. Great unit, lots of stuff to to play around with. I mean, there's any effect that you could possibly need is in this thing. and it's very intuitive, very easy to use. And that's coming from a guy like me who does not typically like effects processors, because stuff like that to me is generally not very easy to use. But even I found it very intuitive. I just had to spend a little bit of time at the beginning, and figure it out. Now, the second part of your question, recording into an iPad, that I think is something that you would regret doing. And the reason why is because, on an iPad, you're doing everything on a touch screen, and it's every time I've tried to record on an iPad or even on my iPhone they do make mobile interfaces, specifically for mobile devices like that. I find, GarageBand in particular in those situations, that's the DAW that those devices will usually come with. I find GarageBand to be very, very tedious to work with in those situations. So I would recommend getting, if you have a PC, you can buy a refurbished PC that'll probably do the job, or a mini PC or something like that. Go buy yourself a cheap monitor. You can do all that. I've actually done videos on this stuff fairly recently, but you can do all that for about $500 or less. And once you get that point, you get that far along, then you can either you can spend the money and buy a DAW like Persona's Persona Studio One Artist Edition, which is like $129, I think, $149, something like that. There's a smaller version of Pro Tools. There's there's lots of stuff, but I think probably what you would probably benefit the most from would be downloading Reaper, which you can download Reaper for free, paying their $60 thing if you want that stupid reminder to stop showing up every time that you open it up after 60 days. Or you can just put up with that, with that same stupid reminder and keep clicking, still evaluating. Reaper is a full-size DAW that's, lots of, you see it used in a lot of pro studios. Watch some YouTube videos on it, learn how to use it. It won't take you, it's not hard to use the basics of that software. And you're off and running. Maybe spend some money on some studio monitors. You don't need to spend money on it if you're just recording guitar anyway. You don't need to spend money on an interface, because the MG30 that I just showed you, or any of those processors, all double as audio interfaces. Just plug them into your computer via USB. So, hope this helps. Good luck to you, man. Love the channel, Robert. Been subscribed for a while and always look forward to the new videos and value your opinion. My question is regarding your thoughts on 1-watt valve amps, specifically the Marshall DS1 and or Blackstar HT1. I always use solid-state amps, Marshall MG, Orange Crush Pro, for home use and gigs, then got a Katana a few years ago, which I use as an all-rounder, gigs, home demos, home use. But recently I found an appreciation for valve tone and the responsiveness with pedals. I have a 20-watt valve amp that is too loud for home use, even on low power, plus don't want to wear out the valves playing it at home as much as my gigging amp, playing a 70s style blues rock band. Do you think the little 1-watt valve amp is a sensible option for home playing, or do you think valve amps at that kind of wattage are a bit pointless, and would I be better off with something solid state or modeling? Thanks. Yeah, thanks for commenting. Yeah, I mean, if it were me, I mean, 1-watt tube amps are generally not my thing. And the reason why is because, yeah, I mean, they have their advantages. They're, they're small, they're 1 watt, they're generally pretty affordable, but they're also they tend to be very limited in their, in their tonal capabilities, especially compared to the rest of the line. The DSL-1R is, is a good amp, but, when you compare the, tone-wise, when you compare it to the DSL-20 in the same line, for example, I think you're going to notice quite a bit of difference, and more importantly, see what you've been missing. 20 watts can get a little loud. I mean, and it's, judging volume by wattage is one of the biggest misconceptions that guitar players go by. Because there's so many different factors that play into how loud an amplifier is. So my 20-watt Randall may not be the same, loudness or decibel level as a DSL-20, for example. As a matter of fact, I will almost guarantee you that it's not. Versus say a Fender Deluxe Reverb, which is a 22-watt combo. Those things are plenty loud. A lot of the Deluxe Reverb, by the way, is the best-selling amp in the world, period, in history. You know, so many people use deluxe reverbs for so many different things, including, you know, professional gigs. So, you know, that 22 watts goes a long way. So wattage does not necessarily determine volume level, you know, and there's not really a good way to tell you what amp is going to give you the volume level that you're referring, that you're looking for your particular uses. So, you know, the solid state stuff that's out there nowadays has, you know, that technology has come really far, you know, and it's, you know, people are getting some really good tones out of a lot of solid state products these days. You know, the Boss Katanas come to mind that you already mentioned. Boy, you know, the Quilter stuff is excellent. The Orange Crush and Crush Pro Series solid state amps are really popular among, you know, and on and on. I mean, there's lots of excellent sounding solid state amps out there. The other thing that you might want to consider, though, is an attenuator. There's all different kinds of kinds of attenuators out there, and you don't necessarily have to spend a ton of money. Now, one of the more popular devices out on the market these days is the Two Notes Captor X, and yes, I'm showing this to you because this is one that I just received, just bought actually. You know, and you can see there, mine's actually still unopened. I haven't gotten a chance to mess with it yet, but these have been out on the market long enough for me to know that this is a very good product. As you can see there on the front, you know, it's a reactive load box, virtual cabinet attenuator, and an IR loader. So, you know, this one you get a lot more features out of it besides just volume attenuation. This one, you know, might be a little bit more than what you're looking to spend for what you're trying to do. I think this one brand new costs $5.99. You know, but again, you get a lot of features, you know, that can be really handy, particularly in home practice settings or home recording settings. You know, a lot of people use this for a lot of different things. Lots of other attenuators that are out there on the market. You know, go check out Weber's website. You know, and you can buy the, you know, they've got a lot of attenuators that are a lot more affordable, and like the $100-$150 all the way up to $300 or $400. You know, not that expensive. You know, that will absolutely do what you need them to do. Or if you really want to stay on a budget, you might want to give one of these a try. And I'll have a link to this down in the description as well. One of my earliest guitar videos was on this thing. You know, I think I was just looking at it from somebody the other day. You know, when you see it, number one, if you happen to find it on YouTube, number one, you can tell how old it is because I'm a lot skinnier in it, and you know, video production quality was terrible. But this thing you can buy on Amazon right now for $59. And it'll attenuate any amp up to 50 watts, and actually does it pretty well. Basically, you hook it up just like you would any other effects pedal, except you're going between the amp and the speaker. You know, and then from there, turn it down, and you'll be able to maintain your tone as well as keep the volume down to something manageable. You have no clue. Many of these amps sound very good. MG100 head into a normal cabinet, not the cheesy original one. Sounds killer. Crappy video. The number of guitar players that still get butthurt over videos that are not meant to be taken the least bit seriously never ceases to amaze me. Alright, that was it. Thanks for hanging in there. This video turned out to be a little bit longer than I was expecting, but that's okay. These are fun. If you want to see your question or comment featured on a future edition of the viewer comments on this channel, drop it down in the comment section of this video or any other video, and keep your fingers crossed. Adios.